Thank you.
You sounded like you when you do your Instagram voice. I sounded like
Pope
me
Francis.
when I did my Instagram voice. Speaking of old Catholics, okay, Pope Francis, the woke Pope. For those of you who don't know, I mean, the as woke as you can get as the Pope. Obviously, there's limitations to all that. Woke Pope Francis is set to make a historic apology to the Indigenous communities in Canada for the residential schools and the cultural genocide alongside regular genocide that the Canadian government and its utilization of the Catholic Church enacted upon the Indigenous population in Canada. Let's hear from George Stephanopoulos here.
Is now in Canada on his first trip to North America since 2015. It's part of the church's effort to reach out to Indigenous communities and make amends for past abuses. Marcus Moore is in Edmonton with the latest. Good morning, Marcus.
Well, George, good morning. This is no doubt a historic moment for Canada. The pontiff arriving here to apologize for the church's role in those residential schools. And coming up this morning, the pontiff will meet directly with survivors in what some believe will be a key step towards healing. This morning, Pope Francis carrying the burden of a wrong he hopes to right on the very soil where decades of harm unfolded in Canada's residential school system, most of them operated by the Catholic Church. The pontiff arriving in Western Canada to apologize for the church's role. From the late 1880s through to the mid-90s, officials say 150,000 children were forced to attend the schools. The aim to assimilate Indigenous children into Canadian culture by stripping them of their heritage and their languages and separating them from their families.
Yeah, I mean,
kidnapping. A survivor said the only thing I learned in the residential school was how to hate myself.
Chief Tony Alexis leads the Alexis Nakota Sioux Nation and was among...
Just a little bit of kidnapping, a little bit of murder, too, inside of the residential schools. You know, basic stuff.
Those calling for the Pope to travel to Canada to apologize in person.
We want to see some action behind this trip and not just lip service. It cannot be that way. It cannot be just a photo op. It has to be real work.
Wounds reopened just last year when more than 200 unmarked graves were discovered on the grounds of a former residential school. Dr. Marie Wilson served on the commission tasked with investigating and charting a path towards healing from the country's dark chapter.
They are long gone and by much of society not even long forgotten, not even known about. And it's about the children in our midst.
Low key, as little as the Catholic Church apologizing and acknowledging this it means in terms of like restitution, especially like offering reparations, like economic reparations, is a necessity. I think it's the right thing to do. Even the fact that the Pope is acknowledging it and apologizing for it is offering it coverage, which is interesting to consider because like people don't even fucking talk about it. See, there's hella people in the chat who are like, how come I never knew about this as an American? I mean, I've talked about it. I've talked about it on this broadcast. But, man, we found out like yesterday or 2 days ago. Okay? We found out that like 2 days ago that like half of you American motherfuckers don't even learn about the Founding Fathers having slaves, man. Like, I'm not shocked at this point. Like, it's not even remotely surprising. It's not remotely shocking to me that most people don't know this, are just completely oblivious to this. The Founding Fathers had what? Stop. We talked about it already. Come on. The Freedom Convoy is trying to protest the Pope's apology. It's insane. Is it insane? Or is it exactly what the Freedom Convoy is doing? They're a bunch of fucking upper middle class rich dickheads who have a lot of time on their hands and they're bored and they're angry and their entire worldview revolves around being brutal. Their entire worldview revolves around reactionary cruelty. You know, that's their point. That's so of course they would protest. They're like, how dare you? Sir? Apologizing for the residential schools. How dare you, I say. Don't you know?
It will be a very heavy week here in Canada, and there's been a lot of focus on the Pope's health. He's been suffering from knee pain, and his movements will be limited this week, and he's also canceled some of his other foreign travel this month. But George, not this trip.
Marcus Moore, thank you.
Well, hey there.
I mean, they were still sterilizing Indigenous women in Canada until like recently. So it's not, it's not surprising at all.